Yes, guys, what is going on? Firstly, thank you for tuning in. Now, never lose muscle mass ever again. The ultimate guide to retaining lean muscle mass in a cutting phase. There is literally nothing worse than going for a bulking phase, smashing a bulk out, doing really well, putting on lots of size. You then start a diet and it goes to shit, and you end up finishing that diet feeling skinny, looking like a runner bean. It's not the one. It's not the one at all. I've been there many, many times. So in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to avoid that happening. So, who am I and why should you listen to me? My name is Henry Gordon. I've been an online coach now for the last 6 to 7 years. In that time, I've helped hundreds and hundreds of men take their physiques to a place that they never thought possible. And it is the best job in the world. I absolutely love it. So, yeah, a couple of my transformations here. We got three more down here, and I just want to show you how it's done. Obviously, we've got Brett, we've got Wayne and Connor, and these guys are holding a fair bit of body fat, as you can see. By the end of the diet, we've not only stripped the body fat off, but they are definitely holding all of their muscle mass, if not more. And although being in a dieting phase, you're not going to be in the most optimal environment to grow muscle, like it is still possible. It really is, and definitely possible to retain all of your size. But there's obviously certain things you need to do, which we'll go through in this webinar. So let's get to it. Firstly, nutrition. So we'll start with protein. 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. So if you weigh 200 pounds and you are overweight, that isn't your lean body mass, 200 pounds. So you then don't need 300 or 400 grams of protein. You need to work out your lean body mass, and you'll do that by subtracting your body fat percentage from your scale weight, and that will leave you with a number that you need to be using for your protein count. Another big mistake when it comes to going into a cutting phase, huge mistake, is increasing your protein. You don't need to. Protein has the exact same amount of calories as carbohydrates, so you wouldn't go into a cutting phase and increase your carbs, would you? So it makes 0 sense to increase your protein. And that is what a lot of guys do, and it's a huge mistake. So yeah, you just want your set protein amount, and that doesn't need to change at all. Next up is maximizing muscle protein synthesis. So when we eat protein, 20 grams of protein, we basically spike our muscle protein synthesis. And when we do that, we put our body in an anabolic state where it's looking to grow and repair muscle tissue. So the aim of the game is to keep ourselves in that state for as long as possible throughout the day, which means frequent protein servings. As you can see here, when we eat protein, we spike that muscle protein synthesis. It's then going to drop, and then we spike it again. And the idea is you want to spike it as much as possible. So frequent protein servings, I would say, is at a minimum 5 times a day. You want to be eating protein spread evenly throughout the day. Next up on here is carbohydrates. Now, again, a huge mistake people make when it comes to dieting, when it comes to losing body fat, is removing carbs. It is the worst thing you can do. Carbohydrates are incredibly important. They're the primary source of energy, and that energy is needed for your training. So please, whatever you do not remove carbohydrates. Your carbohydrates will get lower throughout a dieting phase, and as they get lower, you want to try and keep the carbohydrates around the workout window. So always keep your pre-workout and your post-workout with the most carbohydrates in. And then obviously you have fat as well. So you got your protein count, and then you got your carbs and your fats. So I would split your carbs and your fats at a ratio of 80 to 20 or 70 to 30 carbs to fats. Don't overthink it. It's not a massive deal, but I would err towards having sort of the 80-20 split and keep those carbohydrates as high as possible. Next up, managing the deficit. So again, huge mistake that people make. One of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to losing muscle mass on a cut, and that is not managing the deficit properly. And what they'll do is they'll drop their food way too low, put their cardio through the roof, and what happens? Performance goes to shit. Your strength in the gym, your performance in the gym goes to shit. And when it does, you will lose muscle. So you really want to be careful at managing that deficit, taking it very slow. As it says here, you only want to reduce about once you start your dieting phase, you got your maintenance calories, you only want to reduce about 200 to 300 from that number. Sit there, allow your body to adjust to it. As it says there, patience is key. Just allow your body to, it takes time. It really does take time. And the faster you move, the worse your results are going to be. And the more likely you are to drop those calories too low, again, your performance will go to shit and then you will lose muscle. So that is really, really important. Just take things slow and steady. There is no rush. And you don't, when you go into a dieting phase, you don't want to be rushing the process. You want to give yourself as much time as possible, because the more time you have, the less aggressive you have to be in terms of pulling that food down and pushing that cardio up. So give yourself time. And if you give yourself time, you can just make these slow and steady drops. And with that, you're going to be able to maintain your performance in the gym and maintain that muscle mass. So next up is training. And like I said before, huge mistake with it, with the nutrition side of things, people increasing their protein. That is a very, very common mistake. Another very common mistake is changing your training style. So what built the muscle in the first place? Going through your bulking phase, what built that muscle, your training split, whatever training style you were doing, keep it the same, because what built the muscle will keep the muscle. So you don't want to be a lot of guys, they'll stick to a rep range of, let's say, 8 to 12 in their gaining phase, and then they'll go into a dieting phase and they'll push that rep range to, I don't know, 15, 20, 25 plus, and that is just asking for trouble. You don't want to do that, because that is just going to potentially make you lose strength. And when you lose strength, you're going to lose muscle. So the aim of the game is, with your training and throughout the whole dieting phase, you want to keep as much strength as possible. Because the more strength you keep, the more muscle you keep. It's as simple as that. Now, the best way to make sure that you do keep that strength is by tracking your lifts, knowing exactly what you're doing, the exact numbers, the exact dumbbells, the exact amount of plates that you have on the machine. Because lots of people say they remember. Now, you don't remember. You don't remember every single set, every single rep of your whole workout. And I kid you not, guys, accuracy is everything. It's so, so important. So make sure you're tracking those lifts. And when you come into the gym and you see that number that you achieved last week, imagine what it's going to do for yourself. It's going to give you so much motivation, and you're going to want to attack that set and maintain that number, or even increase that number. Whereas if you don't have anything to go by, you're just shooting in the dark, aren't you? And that is where potentially that strength could drop. And as I said, when it drops, muscle mass will as well. I would also avoid training more than 3 days on, because if you are training hard and heavy, when you get to that 4th, 5th, 6th day, you're simply just not going to have it in the tank. You're going to be knackered. And if you don't have that energy there, and you are going into the gym knackered, again, you're not going to have that energy. You're not going to have that strength. And as soon as that strength starts coming down, as I've said a million times in this webinar already, the muscle mass will come down as well. So I would only train 3 days on. Obviously, it depends on so many different variables, like how many times you can train in a week, etc., etc., etc. But this is why online coaching is so great, because you can customize a plan, completely bespoke to a certain individual based on how often they can train, how much time they have in the gym, etc., etc. So yeah, but as a general rule of thumb, I would say do not train more than 3 days on if you are training hard, that is. And yeah, 5 times a week is more than enough. So for me personally, I train 2 days on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off. So it works out about 5 times a week. But yeah, anything more than that is unnecessary. So just keep your training to 5 times a week, no more than 3 days on, track your lifts, and make sure you keep that strength. That is everything. Keep that strength. So, so important. Now, when it comes to cardio, as I said previously in this webinar, big mistake, dropping your food too low, doing way too much cardio too soon. Now, you want to keep your cardio as low as possible at the start. You basically want your calories up here and your cardio down here at the start of a dieting phase. And as you move through the dieting phase, you can slowly reduce those calories and slowly increase that cardio. But doing loads from the get-go, again, is asking for trouble, because the more cardio you do, the more fatigue you're going to build up. And again, more fatigue it's going to take away from your weights in the gym. And for the millionth time, if it takes away your strength in the gym, it's going to take away your muscle mass. So you got to be really, really careful with your cardio. Just start with a small baseline, 3 times a week, 15 to 20 minutes, and then you can work up from there. And in terms of the cardio as well, of what type of cardio to do, just keep it low intensity. Like as I said, the lower the better. The less amount of work doing cardio, the better. And as you move through the dieting phase and you need to increase that deficit, you can then obviously look to increase that duration and increase the intensity as well if needed. It also says here, like, utilizing steps. Steps are brilliant because steps actually make up the vast majority of the calories that you burn in a day. A lot more than your weight training and a lot more than direct cardio anyway. They're also incredibly non-fatiguing. Like, walking, doing steps is the lowest form of fatigue when it comes to cardio. So I would really, really focus on utilizing your step count and really pushing that step count as high as possible first before you start going into a more intensive cardio regime. And last but not least on this slide, fasted cardio versus fed state cardio. Now, it makes absolutely no difference. It really doesn't, unless you're using certain fat burners like your Himbine, which I will go into a little bit at the end of this slide. But if you aren't using those fat burners, it makes no difference at all. Fasted cardio, fed cardio, you're going to be burning the same amount of calories. It doesn't make a difference. So yeah, I mean, I would always advise doing your cardio fasted. I think it's just a great start to the day, makes you feel good, gets the blood flowing in, and also, if you can do your cardio away from your weights, that's going to be a benefit, isn't it? Because you don't want to be going into the gym and thinking to yourself, all right, I've got to do 30 minutes on the stairs after this workout, when really you just want to go home. So I'd always do it. I'd always break it up and do it at a different time to your training, if possible. I know that's not possible for everyone. Of course it's not. But for me personally, I've got myself a bike in the house, so I can just jump on the bike first thing in the morning, get my cardio done, puts me in a good mood, and it means that I don't have to do it anywhere near my weight training. So I think that's a big benefit. Next up, we have supplements. Now, I'm not going to go too deeply into the supplement side of things because your Himbine and clenbuterol are not to be used without proper guidance. So please do not use them unless you have someone who knows what they're doing that can give you that guidance. Because potentially they can be dangerous, especially clenbuterol. So yeah, I'm not gonna dive too deeply into them because I don't want people to get the wrong idea and use them unsafely. But they basically increase your metabolic rate, so how many calories you're burning throughout the day. So even just sat here now at my desk, if I was using clenbuterol, I'd be burning more calories because you're always burning calories. Your body's always burning calories throughout the day. So it basically just increases the amount of calories that you burn in a day. And the cool thing about using supplements like this is it means that you can essentially eat more food throughout the day as well. And obviously with more food, better performance, you're likely to hold that strength, holding that strength, hold that muscle. So they are great tools, but please do not use them without that guidance. Next up is tracking your progress. So use visuals, obviously you're checking photos and your scale weight. Really, really important because you want to see how your body's changing week to week. And it's really important that you make the right decision at the right time. And the only way you do that is through having data. And obviously the weekly check-ins will give you that data. You can assess the data and then you can make changes to your diet, your cardio, etc., to keep moving forward. So really important, this one, how much weight should you be losing a week? So you're looking for a weight decrease of around 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. So if you weigh 100 kilos, 0.5 to a kilo per week, and that will tell you that you're losing the perfect amount and you're not dropping too fast. Because if you do drop too fast, what else is going to drop too fast? Your muscle mass will as well. So that's why you need to ensure that it is approximately 0.5 to 1% per week. Now, if you lose 2 kilos or 3 kilos in a week, that's fine. But you don't want to be losing that every single week consistently because, yeah, you're going to run into trouble. So if that happens, let's say 2-3 weeks on the trot and you're losing a huge amount, all you need to do is just make some manipulations to the plan, increase your food a little bit, decrease your cardio, and just allow those weight drops to stabilize a little bit more. So guys, hopefully that helped, and hopefully you learned a hell of a lot. If you didn't, and you learned if you learned just one thing, I'd be over the moon. So if you do watch this webinar and it helped, definitely let me know, because I'll be keen to know that for sure. Now, if you want any more help and you're still struggling, and the information I gave you just isn't enough, and you still want a little bit more help, then I'm offering free strategy calls. This is a call with myself. There is zero obligation to join my team on the call. Of course, I would love to work with you. I'd love to help you, and there is no doubt about it in my mind. I'll be able to get you in the shape of your life. But as I said, zero obligation. It's just a friendly chat. We'll go through what you've been doing up until now, your goals moving forward. And as I said, if you didn't want to work with myself, the least you'll get from the call is a roadmap moving forward, some guidance, some tips and tricks. So yeah, definitely worth doing for sure. So let me know. There is a link in my bio on Instagram to book a call, or you can just send me a DM and we'll get that sorted. But yeah, I'll be very keen to talk to you for sure, and I'd love to help in any way I can. So let me know. But thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.